Lila, and Teeps, and Flora, and me. Rocket.
Boost! Fire!
This has happened before.
Advisor.
Another November special is upon us, and it wasn't easy thinking of an elemental list suitable for it. Until I went through many articles on the Superpower wiki, I stumbled upon the perfect choice as well as one of the trickiest representative for the former International Month of the Drums, Sonokinetics. The ability to control, shape, manipulate, and produce sound, and negating it. Even in terms involving music, vibration, or a brutal voice that can break through the barrier. Originally, this was named as Screechers, and I can only come up with 5 of them. So this is a better choice and is a more broader topic. So using their voice, an instrument, or whatever else that can produce brute force and sound waves, it's a fair pass here. Strike up the band, and if you're sound sensitive, you might want to lower the volume or never wear something on your ears. Let's make some noise for my 12th elemental list.
Fight!
Adinia lives.
Starting the list is probably one of the least favorite and earliest examples of a Sonokinetic that I've encountered, Helga from Clayfighter. Ever since I was 5 years old, I never liked her much. Just her looks, actions, and moves turned me away. She's just a gruesome parody of Vikings and opera singers, thus her revolting moves as well as her Valhalla yodel. It's not much, just a short-range group of sound waves with a brief duration and a small knockback mechanic. Nothing too special. And the facts that she loves to eat to the point of obesity, and the way she fights with her armpit and ramming were just too gross for me, even as a kid. She might as well be a ripoff of Angelica from Rugrats wearing a Valhalla outfit. And it's no wonder she never came back to the series after the OG game, nor the tournament edition, not even being interested in the Lost Vikings. But she must have settled down and retired after marrying Tiny, and has several kids. Good riddance since she barely takes the soggy base of this lineup. While Helga's considered as the weakest and the worst contender, Galorian, aka Kyrorian, is another basic Sonokinetic and the earliest elemental I'd encountered next to that unattractive Viking. In fact, I think that this brown dino was actually the first since I was 4 back in '91, as I'd experienced Bonk in my parents' second mom and pop shop on the TurboGrafx. As a naive toddler, I used to think it was a fierce bear due to its dark texture, but he's actually a witch medic dinosaur working for King Drool. It looked difficult as the second boss of Bonk's Revenge, quickly pouncing across the arena and pausing as he blows out sound waves like bubbles. They cover a wide range, but if you can get his rhythmic pattern down, and if you happen to be healthy throughout the Pirani River, it'd be easy as learning Do-Re-Mi. Cute as a miniature during Chapter 6 on Bonk's Big Adventure too. When it comes to Sonokinesis, you don't always have to see the sound waves they emit in order to make it effective. Even the invisible range can break an enemy upon contact as soon as they enter the keyframes. Case in point, Mike Kirby. Just like another contender, Kirby uses this copy ability to decimate surrounding enemies as soon as they enter his vision. But due to its outrageous noise and velocity, it's used within 3 attempts before he should give up the transformation and copy it again. Like many elemental abilities I'd mentioned, this debuted in Kirby's Adventure, and then returns in several others, including my favorite installments, Superstar and Superstar Ultra. Each of these 3 sheer screams use different types of microphones, such as the megaphone, the desk mic, and the stand mic. Heck, it can even be used once as an ability during the racing game Kirby's Air Ride. And in later games, it has 4 uses before being expended, since Kirby's Return to Dreamland and Deluxe with its own encore. So too with amps and charge shots in Robobot. With another entry coming up, Kirby sure acts like the star of the show. So too in Kirby Right Back At Ya. It was very popular along with other elemental moves as listed prior, and it does show that sound can penetrate through any surface or matter imaginable as long as you're in range. Only issue is that it's expendable within 3 or 4 uses, and doesn't have a long duration like many other copy abilities. No curtain calls here for this skill. While the scares are each for the monsters in the trio, Icus, Oblina, and Crumb, my personal favorite always goes to the mutated rabbit. Each one of their roars seem to cover the same range, and are also limited, draining your monster manuals. They can be replenished throughout the levels, and you start with 5 of them, even after you lose a life. The maximum gives the monsters 9 chances, and Icus always happens to be my main even when I was 10. No different than with Diddy Kong in the original Donkey Kong Country. Whether a single enemy or a group of them enters your range, they scurry away after they hear your roar. It works on most enemies, but it's very basic. A lot of bosses are immune to them, so it shouldn't be over-relied on. Sometimes these scares can make you invincible for a second or 2, or can even stop your fall if you manage to jump first before releasing a scare. They also carry a large range, unlike throwing trash, fish bones, or any random thing if they'd run out of projectiles. The scares are unique and simple. It's just an example that sonokinesis, like noise itself, should be naked to the casual eye. And the game and show itself can use some more praise since it was when Nick was at its prime. before the infectious yellow sponge assimilated everything. God, things were a lot better then, and sometimes I wish that SpongeBob would just be erased from existence. Sonokinesis can be used within all matter, not just on the ground nor in the air. As simple as echolocation, it can still be used underwater, especially when emitted from a cetacean. And Ecco the Dolphin is exactly that. Not only is he capable in echolocation like every cetacean, but as annoying as some people think, and as intolerant as Ecco was, it was still interesting nonetheless. Playing as a dolphin doesn't happen often, but it was a treat, especially when I was 5. Ecco's main ability is sonar aside from his charges, and he uses it to communicate with other organisms, such as dolphins, whales, clams, or in some cases time-traveling aliens, or crystal glyphs, or even guiding objects directionally like with starfish. Heck, he can use one sonar wave and let it hit himself, giving him a mind's eye with the layout of the level. At first he has basic sonar, but throughout his adventures, it receives various upgrades. First is the Confuse sonar, which stuns most enemies on contact, including sharks, allowing them to be vulnerable for Ecco's charges. A step up is the Charge sonar, which activates both a sound wave and a charge simultaneously, which can destroy some enemies, but should often be used with caution. These two are received after Ecco saves all the trapped dolphins in the vents and the lagoon, respectively. The Death sonar is attained by the Asterite at the end of the game, and can also decimate enemies along with the Vortex drones and those in the alien tube. The Pulsar sonar may be his most powerful, as it destroys enemies and rocks in his way, as well as emit in multiple directions. And lastly, exclusive to Defender of the Future, is the Power sonar, which breaks rocks and defeats large enemies. With such a fascinating skill and form of sonokinesis I'd never seen before, I wish that even Feeding Frenzy can use that. If only his sonokinesis can be just as handy as the incredible Mr. Limpet. Team Chaotix, particularly Vector, happens to be the only Sonokinetic present in the Sonic series. It was hard brainstorming choices for sound and vibration manipulators, and I wasn't sure why at first I picked the Detective Trio until I stumbled upon that rambunctious reptilian. Exclusively in Sonic Heroes, Vector has a few sonar skills at his disposal. As the team's powerhouse, he has brute strength to create ground pounds with his belly. As a music lover, he actually spits out music notes from his own mouth, aside from his fiery breath, or is able to toss his teammates around with his maw. And interestingly enough, Chaotix's Team Blast Team Recital enables Vector to sing in a distorted way, as it's said that his voice is so bad that it's able to destroy robots outright. Since Vector's hobby is listening to music, hence always wearing the headgear, I'm glad he was the candidate in this sound repertoire. Extra points for Team Chaotix, courtesy of their Team Recital, as Chami plays the drums and Espio strums the 3-string shamisen guitar, along with Vector singing into a microphone to wipe out waves of enemies, and earn extra rewards from their encore. As the leader of the trio, or sometimes quartet with Mighty the Armadillo, Vector is certainly the star taking the top 5. I know everybody in this unaccommodating world absolutely abhors poor Edward. As a music lover as well as a supporter for the underdog, and from my favorite installment of the Final Fantasy juggernaut, the bard has some sonokinesis working for him. While playing as the humble Prince of Damcian, his signature harp is his primary function. His theme song and all his abilities, aside from hiding, emit from his harp in many different songs. First off, when he does a basic attack, he uses the harp's sound waves to hit an opponent. Second, his harp can receive several upgrades, and each one increases in range and strength, from his basic harp to others that wield different effects. From the dream harp inducing sleep, to the Lamia harp inflicting confusion by 30%, to the fiery Apollo's harp which emits fire and extra damage to dragons in certain ports, to the Requiem harp, and finally to the ultimate Loki's lute, which can deal hefty damage to tough creatures. Not only that, but Edward and his harp can exceed with buffs to the team. Bard's Song is his primary and awesome ability, ranging in various healing and shields. It has a quarter of a chance on inflicting status ailments onto enemies, including sleep, silence, confusion, toad, pig, and if Eddie has the harmony ring equipped, the same turns to Champ, producing Protect and Shell to him and his team. And it wouldn't stop there if he's leveled up enough to also boost stats by 10%. Or even haste if you're in a pinch. Heck, the best thing is Life's Anthem, which is regime similar to Rose's Prey ability, automatically restoring the party's HP and MP gradually, and also protect them from severe status ailments. Salve is hardly anything different since it uses up healing items in the inventory and is divided onto everyone. It is risky if you have a limited repertoire, but it's always worth to have. Also, can we forget about the moment in which Edward uses harp to disable the Dark Elf's field that paralyzes the team when equipped with metal, combined with the Vital Whisper Weeds? Even better that his harp never requires to charge like all other magic, and he retains his sonokinesis in most ports, excepting SNES, and even in the after years. While in the 2D versions and the sequel requires him to use a harp, in my favorite, the DS version, the Bard Song's available as an augment for another character to equip those same tunes. How convenient! The only downsides are that if Edward is silenced, he can't use his harp. And since he often has a weak body, he must always remain at the rear of the group. Nevertheless, I always love his theme song and his underappreciated abilities. Edward deserves more praise from players, because he definitely has a lot more promise than Edgar and his pathetic Noise Blaster. Moreover, Edward shouldn't be called the Spoony Bard, as undefinitive the word is, but the ridicule shall belong to the incompetent creator Spoony Boony instead. Even though Hiryu's signature weapon is mostly operated with plasma, the Cypher truly shines as the third best Sonokinetic. The main hero of the Strider series wields this weapon with expertise and finesse that no one else can ever top him. As plasma, light, and sometimes electricity exits from the opening at the tip of the broadsword, it emits at such velocity, causing the usual high-pitched noise we all know. Because of Hiryu's mastery, it's proven to be a highly advanced weapon of choice to A-ranking Striders. It's so damn powerful that its sound wave can slice through waves of enemies and barriers as if they were thin bamboo. And when they say it can slash through any material, that's no exaggeration. It can slash through boulders, concrete, and ceramic with minimal effort, and could even be charged and have its energy released similar to arrows or sound waves. Hell, it doesn't always have to produce noise, making it effective as a sneak attack and silence while being thrown like a boomerang. In the modern title, Hiryu emits his own psychic energy onto the Cypher, which is powerful enough to create the illusion of a scarf, or sometimes leaking out a trail of energy behind due to his immense might. So too can the noisy weapon be combined with charged-up energy emitting explosive heat, ice, or even magnetizing and refracting bullets. While mostly unknown, the Cypher's sound capabilities can be varied into different models, such as geometric, long, twin, and sweeping. With such extreme capabilities, slashing through anything in sight, crafted in different models, wielded with exponential expertise, and producing the amazing signature sound while swinging, it's no wonder that the Cypher assisted Hiryu on his many missions, including several crossovers with Marvel, Street Fighter, SNK, or Namco. Without that seething sound cutting through solids in the air, it most definitely deserves the bronze rank. And that's really saying much since I'm not much of a Strider fan, and only the Genesis game got me intrigued. Sindel and Sonokinesis are just synonymous. The queen of both Outworld and Edenia was just one of the two irresistible choices for this list. And even though she usually uses her banshee screams, they're still the most prominent and sometimes deadly. Ever since her debut in Mortal Kombat 3, she has become the noisiest combatant ever conceived. Aside from Shatokinesis, aka hair manipulation, and levitation, she dominates with her immense and intense ultrasonic voice that can even exceed X-Men's Banshee. Upon her resurrection from Quan Chi, her sound waves cover a moderate range on the arena and carry widely with these broad vibrations, simply by stunning the opponent or pushing them back an inch or two into other near hazards if you're lucky. The thing is, she wasn't portrayed very often, only appearing in 3, Trilogy, Ultimate 3, Deception, and Armageddon, till the NetherRealm games especially, but every installment entails just how creepy and deafening her Sonokinesis is. The scariest thing really isn't the sound it makes, but also her vast control over it. Her attacks vary in range, duration, and devastation, and she's also capable on charging up her Sonokinesis since MK11. However, in the NRS games, It's often to the point from paralyzing her prey to overwhelming many combatants at once after absorbing Shank's soul, or to the extent on screaming a person's skin off, or used as a fatal blow. She can even be enough to halter an elder god, particularly Cetrion, or Titan like Chronica or Shang, or the artificial construct Garrus, and utilize each one of her abilities, living and undead. Her sonokinesis never ceases the more she appears in the series, which is almost a stark contrast since in my chronology and inspired by a roleplay, Nightwolf was able to exorcise the demon from Sindel to the point on no longer using it. Whether massive sound waves or even screaming out fireballs from her own mouth, or even capable on decimating objects as shown in other media, Sindel is certainly the queen of the two omnipotent realms and sonokinesis. And it's no wonder that even her daughter Katana can also use it to a lesser extent, while rapidly wielding her signature fans. Probably a hereditary element for an Edenian, I guess. Oomph! Time to take off the earplugs, cause 10 through 2 are the noisiest and done. But before we get to number 1, let's give some encore to the honorable and dishonorable mentions. The mighty drummer and Galarian starter Rillaboom makes it as the leader of this list in all Sonokinetics. It wasn't easy picking just one, as a lot of Pokemon share singing, belly drums, screeching, thunder waves, supersonics, and many others, and I was hoping I'd find one that knows all moves involving sound waves. Thankfully, it was the gargantuan grass type which caught my interests and can wield just enough of them. As the fully evolved form of Grookey and Thwackey, unlike many sound manipulators, it doesn't always depend on his own voice, but rather it's a natural percussionist. Sonokinesis is indeed his specialty, and they say that within its clan, whoever has the best drum performance is declared their leader. Rillaboom, the hybrid of Gorilla and Boom, was an instant pick despite me dropping out since Generation 7. Everything about that regal orangutan was too enthralling to pass up, and it's amazing it's just a mono grass-type starter. I love its primal design with the thick leaves, its various shadings all over his face and body, the fact that it keeps his own sticks and drum buried in its thick hedge headdress, and even its gentle though sensitive and protective nature. They often are solitary, mostly with their own kind, and they always love to use their own drums, even crafting them out of trees. They seem to be cooperative rather than competitive, kind of like me in a way, and they tend to attract Pokémon onlookers and cause them to drum and dance with them, to the point on reducing a predator's tendencies to dance with their prey. On top of that, they're mostly male, which I find to be very fitting, especially considering it's a drummer, a tribesman, has enormous strength, they fit well with dominant gibbons, and drums are my favorite instrument. Since drumming is Rillaboom's topmost specialty, they possess a wide variety of sonokinetic moves. Most of their sound waves emit from their drums or themselves, including drum beating, noble roar, screech, growl, uproar, boom burst, giga impact, earthquake, and hyper voice. Despite the variety of noise, there's one minor issue with its move pool. They don't learn the move belly drum, which is very odd considering it's a gorilla and they tend to beat on their chests to intimidate opponents. Maybe take some pointers from Donkey Kong in a way. While they usually beat on their stumps, they too toss their opponents asunder by the roots of their stumps, and possess a Gigantamax form which grows to a massive drum set. It actually expands as an entire forest, and each tree is his own instrument, magnifying their prowess and attractive instruments tenfold. The best part is that Rillaboom are very adaptable, and their sonokinesis, especially in Gigantamax form, is known to travel across immense oceans and into other farther regions, which always causes those who hear it to have an urge swelling up inside, causing them to dance along to their overwhelming rhythms. Since I'm fascinated with tribal customs, Rillaboom and their powerful and compelling tendencies fit me well. In a lot of ways, Rillaboom fits my annual tribal ceremonies, being one of the enticing chieftains attracting others to join his number and cause, be it for battle or just conform. His primal style, his compelling percussion, his immense might, and all his sonokinetic skills surely makes him as my topmost elemental suited for the former international month of the drums. He can even be Uzaru or Donkey Kong's favorite rhythmic companion, and it's pleasing that just like with Umbrakinesis, that primates and percussion operate superbly as one. I'm the Ekron Rider, and Rillaboom is indeed my all-time favorite sonokinetic in gaming history. With his adaptability, traits based on the extinct Gigantopithecus, and since his specialty is musical entertainment contrast to the other Galarian starters, Rillaboom remains as the unstoppable chieftain, and perfect for the hypnotic drumming arts as well as November. Keep drumming loud and proud.